guys, how are you? I hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing a movie review. This movie is a horror film from Denmark, Danish language English subs, released in the year 2016, directed by Bo Mikkelsen, and this film is called What We Become. So What We Become is set in this sleepy town in Denmark. This town consists of a family, a mother, father, young daughter and a teenage son, and they've got recent arrivals as far as their neighbours are concerned in a mother and a teenage daughter. So the teenagers from both of these houses start to get a connection with each other and a love starts to blossom, but that love is put on hold when there is word of a viral outbreak that is causing people to go insane and attacking each other and killing each other. So this virus is spreading very quickly, and so the whole country is gripped in paranoia. So they don't want this virus to spread, so they put this town in isolation, basically quarantine. So no one can leave and no one can come inside. So the authorities tell these families to stay inside. You can't go outside. If you do it, you're going to be arrested and taken to a facility. And so they will let these family know when it's safe to come back out. But this is where paranoia starts to set in, because the family believes that the authorities are hiding something from them that is very vital in their survival of what is actually going on. So as the tension grows, this teenage son starts to worry for his love interest next door. So he wants to go outside the house and find her, but then his family have to try and convince him to stay indoors because it's very dangerous. So the whole situation spirals out of control, and whether or not this family can survive the onslaught is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on What We Become. This was a very, very interesting zombie film. This is a movie that does take place in this zombie genre, but the reason why I liked it as much as I did is because it is very reminiscent of the zombie film Maggie. Now the comparisons I made with Maggie was the fact that Maggie was a very different zombie film. Maggie was a film about coping with terminal illness, but it happened to use zombies. And so this movie does the same thing, is that it does happen to have zombies, but it's more a symbolisation of family strength, family honour, and what you'll do for a family member, not only in a zombie apocalypse, but any stressful situation, and how families can actually give us strength, and that we might not be as strong as one, but as a whole, we can combat a lot of things. And so I think this movie uses that same sort of symbolisation as Maggie did. And for that reason, I think a lot of people might be disappointed at What We Become, because if you're expecting a broad-scale destruction, if you're expecting zombies running around tearing people to pieces, then you are going to be disappointed. Now, when you compare this to George A. Romero films, this doesn't feel like so much of a zombie film as opposed to a psychological drama. So that is my only caution that I would throw out there. If you are expecting a gore fest, don't bother with this, but if you are tired of the repetitive nature of flogging the cash cow that was set by George A. Romero, then this movie is definitely one for you. I thought this was an extremely emotional film. It was an extremely sad and depressing film, and it's a movie that really keeps you on edge, because the simple fact that you're as oblivious to the situation as this family are. In other zombie films, you get that broad scale sense of carnage. You know what's going on, but the actual people involved in the story don't. So you can dictate what's going to happen. If they do this, they're going to die. If they do that, they're going to die. And so you've got a certain sense of control. But in this movie, you basically take the perspective of this family. This movie is 95% within this same location, within this house. And so when you don't know what's going on, you can't dictate how this certain act is going to finish. And that's why I thought this was a masterstroke. This was an independent film, but it used its independent sort of budget to absolute perfection, is because you've got that sense of suspense, that uncertainty, because you don't know what's outside. You don't know what this government's hiding. So if you actually knew what the government was hiding, if you knew what was outside, it does lessen the impact a little bit. But if you actually feel like you're one of these people in this house and you're peering out the window, not knowing what's going to come out at you, it gives that strong sense of scariness. And I thought the movie was very scary, but it was done in a very subtle way. So it's not obvious, it's not splashing gore, it's not using jump scares, it's that slow progression of paranoia that is slowly engulfing this family, and it's slowly tearing them apart. So I thought the chemistry within this family was fantastic. This is what it really needed. When you've got emphasis on limited characters, you really need great performances, and I thought everyone did a standout job. I thought the mother and father were very loving at the start of the film. They have a lot of banter. You felt that this is a realistic family you could gain sympathy for. They weren't annoying, so it's basically relatability that the movie has at the start of the film without going into overdrive. And then when bad things start to happen, it doesn't go into melodrama, which is something I really liked as well. It's not hitting the audience over the head with something obvious. It's actually letting you feel sorry for them, because you feel like you're part of the family as well. The love interest between the two teenagers I thought worked very well. Once again, it wasn't overdone, it wasn't melodramatic, it didn't feel like it got in the way of the progression of the film. It felt like it was a symbolisation of love and warmth versus the cruelty and coldness of the outside world, which is something I loved. And I really love the aspect of the authorities, in that these people are sworn to protect us, but sometimes they can't be trusted, and what if they're the enemy? So not only do they have to combat this viral sort of zombie outbreak, they've also got to combat the authorities, and it shows that the authorities can just be as dangerous, and if they're just as dangerous, who can you rely on? And that's basically what the film does so well, is that gives it that certain sense of hopelessness, that wow, we're in this alone, that we're going to have to combat this by ourselves in order to get out of here, and we can't trust anyone. So it's an extremely paranoia kind of feeling that the movie has. The atmosphere was great, the cinematography very dark and gloomy. As I said, it's a very depressing kind of film. The soundtrack was very good. It actually reminded me a little bit of Nicholas Winding Refn, which is a little bit strange, a very sort of techno beat soundtrack, but I thought it really used it well. And there were some moments that were truly suspenseful, and as I said, they were absolutely fantastic, because as you get to know the situation a little bit, it actually starts to dawn on you that maybe the authorities are a bigger risk than the actual virus. So there is a little bit of gore at the end, which will satisfy gorehounds, but there's not enough in there to actually warrant this viewing if you're after it solely for gore. But yeah, this is a very impressive film, and it was so much more than I was expecting. Unfortunately though, my other problem with this movie is that there was a point in the movie where I thought if it ended it here, it would have been perfect. But it does go on a little bit more, and it lessens the impact. And you think to yourself, okay, I've got a really unique film. But the way it finished, it kind of set it up maybe for another film. And it really didn't need that. If it just stopped it about 5 minutes before it actually did, it would have been perfect. But it just had to keep going on a little bit. And the impact that the movie has, the depressing nature that the movie has, it kind of just lessens it a little bit. And I thought it would have been so much better if they just cut it where I wanted it to be cut, and it would have just hit me with the power of a sledgehammer. But in the end, it does hit you very hard, but not as hard as it could have been. So it doesn't really know where to finish, and that was a little bit disappointing to me. But having said that, this is still a film that I would highly recommend to anyone out there who is a fan of this kind of stuff. If you want something a little bit different, What We Become is certainly one that will deliver. So overall for this film, I'm going to give it 4 stars. Go out there and see it. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.